I feel really excited to have Christopher John with us here. Christopher and I did some deep work together in the Hendricks world and got to really bond through that and see each other go through some deep journeys and watch each other along the way over the last 12 or so years, maybe even more now, grow into who we are and where we are. And Christopher and I haven't got to connect a lot, but we get to see each other vicariously, and I connect with his partner Megan as well a little bit. And it's nice that something new's happened. And I was on his show last week called Soul Yum Life, which was awesome, and it was really powerful. And I'm really excited to have Christopher share his journey. And we didn't get to talk much beforehand this one because there was a little weird thing with Zoom where he wasn't able to hop on for the 10 minutes before. So Christopher, I'm wanting to ask you some questions, invite you to share and bring anything you got going on. And Christopher is full of a lot of wealth and experience and comes from some really deep roots in Utah and stuff. And so how I want to share first is I want to just, Christopher, I'd love for you just to share a little bit about like what's present for you right now. What are you up to in your life right now as far as your work and things like that? And then I'm going to just go further into asking you some things. You feel good about starting with that?
Yes.
Awesome.
So I've been doing what Shems is doing here, teaching, leading, guiding, supporting men and women for about 11 years now professionally. Prior to that, I owned a construction business that I had started fresh out of high school. I was a Utah tough Mormon plig farm boy who started, fresh out of high school, started a construction company and ran that for about 12 years. Started from ground zero with nothing, no knowledge, no money really, and just the guy that I was working for at the time during high school. So I ran away when I was 14. I had a tough childhood. Ran away when I was 14. Was making my way through. I had help from plenty of sources, and there was a family that took me in, but I kind of pretty much paid my own way. So I was working nights and weekends and summers to pay my own way, and I was working for this guy that did concrete, and he was always complaining about he was too old for that crap and he was ready to retire and whatever. So when I graduated, I said, "Hey dude, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 40 grand if you'll give me enough of your stuff for me to start my own business. You want out, I want in." And so he agreed. We wrote up a simple little contract, and the deal was that I would pay him 10% of everything I made until I paid him off, because I didn't have anything to give him. And I didn't even have a truck. I mean, I was in the concrete business, and I was driving a car, strapping boards to the top and loading my trunk up with the tools. And 12 years later, I owned about $5 million worth of equipment, and I had about 60 plus employees and was running a big show. I was building houses and doing excavation and all kinds of other things. And that's just before I met Shems, which was the result of going through a major divorce. My first wife had an affair, first with my best friend, later on with an enemy, a guy that I really did not like. He worked in the construction industry, and he was very dishonest. And so I went through a very hard time. I nearly committed suicide during that time. I tried drinking myself to death, and finally pulled through, hired a coach who was part of the Hendricks work. Her name was Megan Silito, and she was phenomenal. And in about 6 months, she did more for my life we accomplished more in 6 months than I had all the previous years of my life. And so about 6 months into that, I was like, I want to go to the Hendricks and take this on. So that's where I met Shems. Is we were doing this 2-year, LAT program, and we were really diving deep and committed for a long-term deal there. And I started to dive deep into all kinds of things. I traveled to third world countries and indigenous tribes and spent a lot of years now, about 2005 I think is when I went in there. So how 12 years or whatever that is, just really searching out the four corners of the universe for truth and wisdom and transformation and those things. Just not too long into that, I realized I couldn't continue doing construction, and that I had a deeper passion and purpose, and that all that I had gained in transforming myself, that there was no way I couldn't share that with others. There was this burning inside to share it with others. I couldn't contain it. And it was a hard jump, because I had spent my whole life, and I had all the toys and all the American dream, and I had a lot of money and a lot of nice things. And but I ultimately sold it all and shut it all down, and dove headfirst into being in the coaching industry, and I spent 7 years not being profitable in this business. And but luckily, over the last 4 or 5, luckily I was tenacious and committed and recommitted over and over. And over the last 4 or 5 years, we've now made a very healthy and great living doing what I love and making the world a better place. And recently, what's up in my world is we're building a new house. So I'm all red, like way redder than I normally am. I've been out for the first time in 12 years pouring concrete on my own house. And so I just got done working. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. I just finished a 13 or 14-hour day of physical, strenuous labor that's completely, I have not done it for 12 years. And so a part of me, it's really fun to get back on the horse and get out there and grind and grit with the guys and get all dirty. And the other part of me is like, holy shit, I am sore. My body's not accustomed to that work anymore. So got a beautiful wife. Now I a few years after all that drama, I remarried, and I've got a beautiful wife, and I've got 2 children from my first marriage, 2 children with my current marriage. And we live in southern Utah, and our lives are very full between running a couple businesses and building a house. And we got a new baby in the house. And my 14-year-old teenager just moved in with me for the first time since she was just a couple years old. And she's living with me now permanently. And I've got her in an amazing school for the performing arts that is just wonderful. So we're doing really well, and our plate is very full. And that's pretty much a summary of where I'm at tonight and in this phase of my life.
Thank you, brother. Super happy to have you here. And if you were to, go into a little bit of like what work you're doing with people right now, and specifically with men, could you share a bit about that?
Yeah. So I do different events. I've been doing an event called The Purge for a number of years now. It's a very intense, deep dive, going down in and finding the deep, dark stuff and digging it out and turning stuff around. And that's been powerful, and it's been something I've loved. But just recently, I have one actually scheduled for next June, and I even have 5 or 6 spots sold to it. But it came to me recently that event's done. So I get to renegotiate with the people that have already signed up and say, hey, I'm still going to deliver an event to you, but we're changing the tone. We're going to go more light, more playful, more transformation through play. And that's for men and women. My wife does an amazing thing called the Goddess Experience for Women. And then I have an online relationships course for couples. But my men's work is something I'm really passionate about. And that's actually, this is a shirt that can't be bought. This is a shirt that my men, only me and my men, have this shirt. That's something I designed. If any of you guys are familiar with Combo, a little secret, you can't tell anybody because we don't tell anybody this stuff, but those socks in the back represent Combo. Who's familiar with Combo here? Awesome. You got that 4 out of 5 that raised hands, and I don't know who's on the call, so that's a good group. So we take the guys out, and Shems is doing men's passage, which obviously I'm assuming has something to do with rites of passage and being a man in the modern world. And that's very similar to what I'm up to. I take these guys out, but it's not an online thing. I take these guys out for a 7-day in the wild We do some survival skills. We do combo together. We do Senenga, if you know what that is. It's like the battery acid in your eyes. It's from the jungle too. And we do some hape. We do some breath sessions. We do a little bit of dancing. We do some things around, connecting and honoring the divine feminine. And we just we do a half Ironman. The first half day, we just settle in. The next day, first full day, we go do a half Ironman together. And so that's our day one, really, is a half Ironman. And then we move on to do all these other things, combo and dancing and breath work and survival skills. And so it's kind of a combination of indoors, outdoors. And basically what I did when I designed this event, I was like, you know what? Most of us, if there's a 50 to 60% divorce rate, that means about half of us have been raised by women. Not that there's anything, women are beautiful, but about half of us have been raised by women. A lot of us had video games and TV that was a babysitter for a decent amount of time. A lot of us didn't have men in our lives. My dad left my mom she sent him away when I was 5. And then my stepdad was pretty much a jerk. And my dad was a jerk, right? So I had either kind of two types of men. One was domineering control freaks that were big, angry, mean people. And the other side was just not there. Just not available, not emotionally available, not physically there. This is my princess, Brinsley. She loves being on camera.
Good to see you.
This is her JoJo bow.
I got it today from Target.
Okay, can you say hi real fast and then let me finish my call by myself?
Hi.
Can I have a
Hi, nice to see you.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Okay, can I finish my call by myself right now?
Yeah. Daddy,
What?
I just want it right here.
Okay. I love you. Hey, I love you. So,
Sounds like a really deep, powerful experience.
So very, very powerful, very experiential, and really the way I was inspired to do it is back in the day, it was really frustrating for me because I had all these big dreams, all these hopes, and that's where they stopped. I knew how to dream about shit. I knew how to initiate it sometimes. And a lot of times I didn't initiate it because I was scared I would fail. And so I wouldn't initiate a lot of things that I wanted to do for fear of failure. And then if I did initiate it, many times I didn't follow through. And then I wouldn't actually tell people what I was going to do because I didn't want them to witness how many times I said I was going to do something but didn't actually do it. And so most of the time I'd keep it. Anyone relate at all? Been there, done that at any level? And so one day I was training so there was this journey. I told you I went 7 years not being profitable in this business. So one day there was a period about that time where I was like, the pressure was really mounting. My wife was telling me, go get a job. I'm sick of this shit. Go get a job. And I said, honey, I love you. And that's not an option for me. That's like just as well. That's like dying to me. Like it's not an option. And she's like, well, being up and down, feast or famine with our finances isn't an option for me. So I'm out. And she said, she wasn't like, I'm divorcing you. It's like, I'm moving out. I'm going to take care of myself financially. And we basically came to this agreement. I was like, honey, you need to learn to source your own well-being. And she's like, you need to learn to provide. I'm like, all right, I'll go to work seeing what I can do to provide. Better than I ever have, even though I've always been a hard worker. I didn't sit around. And she was like, hey, and I'll go be with myself and spend some time learning how to source my own well-being. So we spent 6 months away from each other during that time. And I was fasting, I was meditating, I was praying, I was doing all these different things to anything I could get my hands on to try to figure out what do I got to do to finally break through this financial piece, that I can thrive. Like, I'm in my zone of genius. I'm doing what I love. I'm providing value. My clients love me. Like, what the hell? Like, can we be done with the feast or famine pattern already? And there was this clarity that came to me finally. I don't know the time frame or whatever, but finally this clarity came to me. It said, when you handle it said the very same in some other way. I'm just paraphrasing what I remember. Something like, the very same thing that's holding you back from handling your fitness is the same thing that's holding you back from handling your finances. The way you do one thing is the way you do all things. So if you'll clear up what's holding you back in your fitness, it'll clear up your finances. And what my fitness has been is, high school, I was very ripped, I was very good shape, one of the top athletes in the school. By the age of 19, 20, I started to get chubby. By the age of 28, 29, I was 260 pounds. And one day, Kathleen Hendricks, she was a therapist, not a doctor, but she said in the middle of a training, she looked at me and said, if you don't make some major changes, I give you about 3 years to live. And I was like, holy shit. And then she told me a story about some other guy that was intense and all uptight like me, how I had been, and how he had just had a vessel burst in his brain and he was gone in a day. And so that was a big wake-up call for me. But so what I did is I said, well, okay, what's happening with my fitness is I don't follow through. I commit and I don't follow through. And so I went and I committed and closed. Have you guys heard the term burn the ships? So this coach of mine was teaching me burn the ships. And apparently I've read this on the internet by about 3 different people. So people are spreading information that's inaccurate, obviously, or it happened multiple times. Basically, they said that there was this fleet that was this army or military, and they came to this foreign land to conquer it. They were on a beach. They were at the enemy was at an elevated position. This army was backed up to the ocean, the shore, so they couldn't do anything. All odds were against them. They were outnumbered like 3-1, and everything was against them. And they really had to win this battle. And so the guy in charge, the general or whoever he was, supposedly signaled to his captains to burn the ships. So supposedly they literally turned around and burned the ships so that there was nothing left. So there was no option of escape. There was no option in anyone's head to think, oh, well, if this don't go well, we can run for the ships and get out of here. It was, if I don't win this battle, I'm not going home to my wife and kids. If I don't win this battle, I'm dead here today.
Looks like we lost him.
I don't win today. So can you please go somewhere else?
We're just losing you, buddy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so anyway, it's a symbol of full-on commitment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, in this scenario, if they didn't win, they're not going home. They're never going to see their wife and kids again. They're never going to see the light of another day. So it's 100% commitment. And so I had been studying the concept of 100% commitment versus, kind of. And so what I did is I was already making my living online, and everyone was following me there. So I got on and I said, look, guys, I have not handled my fitness. I'm committing right now to handle my fitness. And in order to burn the ships for myself, I'm telling you right now, if I don't follow through on this, and you're my client, fire me. And if I don't follow through on this and you've been thinking about being my client, don't. Because what you can know about me is that I don't follow through. I don't do what I say I'll do. And if I can't do that, how can I help you get results? If I don't do it, how can I get youth to do it? And if neither of us does it, how are either of us going to get results? So that was my way of burning the ships. It left me know there's no way I was going to let the whole world in and tell all my clients and my livelihood and then not show up. So I committed to CrossFit on the spot and went straight from overweight and out of shape to CrossFit. And the first 2 months were two of the most miserable, physical, strenuous, tired, sore months of my life. But I gained grit. I gained access to a masculine power and a follow-through that was bigger than my stories, bigger than my excuses, bigger than my patterns. And I would go do the workouts, and in the middle of it, or at the end of it, so like one of the workouts particularly, but this happened over and over. I remember it was a 10-round workout. I had done 3 rounds, and my mind was yelling, we're done, we can't do it, it's too hard, it's too much, no, 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 no. And somehow I made it through and did all 10 rounds. And then afterwards, I'm like, holy shit, this is it right here. Like, this is what the voice or the message was telling me. Like, in life, I go 3 rounds into a 10-round experience, and then I give up because it's too hard, because it's too painful, because I'm too tired, or whatever all the voices and chaos in my head were making me. I was choosing to allow them to stop me. I was stopping myself in relation to hearing them. And so I laid down on the mat right there in this. And if anyone's done, I don't know if any of you done CrossFit, but it's pretty macho, A-type. You know, it's quite a macho ego environment in general. And so they're all looking at me like, who's this weirdo over there crying on the floor? I'd be bawling my eyes out, having huge insights about, holy shit, how long have I struggled with these patterns and what has it cost me? And hallelujah for being right here to discover it. And so huge experience. And then that later morphed into doing Spartan races, and that later became doing Ironman races. And so since then, over the last few years, you know, I did CrossFit for a couple of years. I did Spartan races for a couple of years, and then I've done Ironman for a couple of years since then. And so one day, all this back, and we'll tie it back to where I started, and I want to hear from you, Shems, because it's a long toss. So I was training for Ironman, and my workout that day was 9 hours. It was like a 7-hour cycle and a 2-hour run. And just so you know, I don't know who knows what about Ironman, but Ironman's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile cycle, and then a 26.2-mile run back to back to back all at once. So I go from 260 pounds, couldn't get my butt off the couch 2 days in a row, make an excuse every time I was sore or tired or didn't feel like it, to training every single day, 6 days a week for 2 years straight, and complete an Ironman. My first Ironman was 17 hours straight, as hard as I could go, 17 hours straight. And then after a couple of years, I got that down to about 14 hours, but still a pretty long day. Now, pros can go do it in 7, 8, 9 hours, depending on the course. So I'm not a pro by any means. I'm just a guy in the middle of the field that can complete an Ironman. But I never was in it to compete with them. I was always in it to increase my capacity to identify what I wanted and what I felt was inspired for my path, commit to it, and follow through. That was the whole purpose of it. So one day I'm out and I'm doing a 9-hour workout, and I'm actually enjoying myself. I'm super fit, feeling great, and I just started to appreciate myself. I'm like, holy shit, I used to couldn't complete anything, and here I am working out 6 days a week, like clock, like just boom, I can count on me like never before. And I'm out here doing a 9-hour workout. I'm running a couple of businesses. I've got a wife who had Lyme disease and was practically on her deathbed at the time. I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning to get my 9-hour workout in so that by 10 o'clock I could get home, help with the kids, get my wife situated, and then go to work for the day. And I was thinking while I was in the middle of that, I'm like, I'm a badass. Like, I'm proud of myself. I'm like, holy shit, where we've come from. And in that, I was like, this is so huge. And at the time, I was also now making like, I don't know, 20 grand a month or something, doing what I loved, working part-time, able to train half the time doing Ironman and doing other things. And here I was making better money than most of the time I had made. And I was like, you know what? That was kind of like the completion of that journey, where what I told you about before, where it said, you know what, handle your fitness and everything else will work itself out. And I was like, holy shit, it was right the whole time. This is amazing. And I was like, I've got to teach and show and empower other men to overcome this, because I have this concept that we come to learn what we come to teach. Or that, so, you know, if I struggled with it and I overcame it, now I'm qualified to help others overcome it. And I knew there was a lot of other men out there who were dealing with the same things, and that if I had overcome it, then I could then help them do the same. So that's full circle. Shems, please.
Thanks. That's a rich sharing. And, you know, a couple things come to me as I'm hearing you. And one of them is that how have you dealt with the resistance inside of you? It sounds like you've got this warrior spirit that was able to push through. And, you know, most men are not going to do 9-hour journeys like you did, or a 17-hour Ironman. And, you know, we have these practices that might take us a half hour, the things I'm sharing with these men. And I'm curious, like, what do you do to face when resistance comes up, or what do you share with the men you work with of like how to do the first steps of kind of initiating a breakthrough of that resistance to have more of that warrior masculine drive?
Yeah. So the things that helped me, because in the beginning it was kind of hard, because if you take my story of everything I just shared, I go from a farm boy who was taught to not feel his feelings, to ignore his body, ignore his feelings, disconnect from himself and everything else, and just plow, right? And then I go do all this deep spiritual work about the time we met, Shems. And now I'm this softie who, no, that don't feel good. And so I swing from this tough neck to this super spiritual softie. And it was nice over here. I was happy and peaceful, but I was also kind of broke pretty much, right? So, and that's the other thing I saw, is I see so many men that are healers, that are lovers, that have found this sensitive side. And I love that, because I grew up with men that didn't have that. And I would actually choose the healers and the lovers over the tough necks if it was a choice, because I'd rather have the connection and the love and the joy and the fulfillment of being alive and experiencing and savoring all those emotions and the experience of life, versus just ignoring it, stuffing it down, and plowing through. And so, but when I found, and I was going through this whole journey we just described, then basically I was like, well, I get to discover some more grit and follow through here. So some of the things I did, basically it's like, can you do small little things that are uncomfortable and stretch your comfort zone? It don't have to be miserable. It doesn't have to be an Ironman. But can you begin? And here's the thing. This is a key distinction. While doing Ironman, I was doing it with friends that were full-on A-type personalities, period. Basically just redneck, tough neck, Ironman, egotistical men. Now, they would brag. There was a particular post that one of these guys put on Facebook. He's like, I got torn meniscus, Achilles tendon damage, 2 compressed vertebrae, a hernia, and I'm still training for Ironman. And I was like, yeah, so are you receiving the feedback your body's giving you, right? So you're sitting here bragging, and I'm not hearing the brag. I'm hearing someone who's disconnected from himself, from his body, and who's training other men how to be the same. And so the distinction for me is, when I'm doing Ironman, I'm listening to my body. So if I start a workout and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this workout. I know, bud. I hear you. Doesn't feel good right now, does it? So I'll tell you what, how about we just walk for a minute? You don't feel like running right now? Cool, let's just go for a walk. All right, I feel like a walk. That feels good. 5 minutes later, yeah, loosening up. Feeling pretty good. It's nice out here. We could do a little jog, huh? Yeah, that feels good. Little light jog. 10 minutes later, this feels great. Let's speed it up, man. And next thing you know, I'm like, yeah. And so rather than getting up, so their talk is something like, come on, man, get up. Don't be a pussy. It's not how a man handles this shit. You got to get this shit in. It's grit. It's grind. You know, they talk about it all the time. And so I know what their inner dialogue is because I hear their outer dialogue. And I'm having a different experience. I'm honoring my little boy inside. I'm honoring my feminine side. I'm honoring my warrior and my masculine side. I'm practicing healthy dynamics in the whole thing, because part of what had me quit and not follow through in the past was all that shit being on the drama triangle with myself. And then like in the race, when I would get, I'd get halfway through the run. I've done all the swim, all the ride. It's 14 hours later. I'm 3/4 of the way done with the run. My hips burning, my knees burning. I'm tired. My stomach's upset. And instead of like, we gotta push through, I'm like, okay, how can I best support you right now, body? Hey, hip, I hear you. I know you're hot. I know you're inflamed. I'm working with you. What is it you need right now, right? Okay, so can we work together here? Like, I'll be gentle. I'll move this way. We're good? We're good. Okay, right? And this all may sound crazy. You guys, I think, I don't know. Maybe I sound crazy. Maybe I don't. But
it's great.
Basically, it's like, for me, it's very important that, yes, have that grit, but it's not just grit, and it's not just love and healing and whatever feels good. For me, it's come to a place of only choose what's inspired. Once I've been inspired and I'm like, this is an absolute yes, commit to it, and know that every time I don't follow through on a commitment, I have lowered my capacity to create what I want. Every time I do follow through on a commitment, I've increased my capacity to follow through on what I want. And the commitment and recommitment is one of the most important things. And so if I can be gentle with myself, recommit over and over, no self beat up, no guilt, no shame, no negative talk, no drama triangle in my own head, just like, oh, we missed today? That's okay, bud. Let's recommit tomorrow instead of going into drama about it. Or, yeah, you don't feel like running? That's cool. Or, hey, you're in pain? All right, let's work together. So it's like being in right relationship is a key part of it. First, being clear, what are you committing to in the first place? Is this a true yes? If so, commit. And once you commit, it's happening, period. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you're sore. I don't care whatever. And I'm not saying just ignore and push through. I'm saying find a way that's friendly and that's enjoyable to move through in a way that with the best or optimal amount of ease and grace possible. And I know it's a long toss again, but start with little things. Set yourself up for success. Don't commit to Ironman. I mean, like I did. I committed to Ironman. I didn't have any gear. I didn't like running. My knee was bad. I didn't have a bike. I didn't know how to swim. It was a crazy undertaking. But I had done all the CrossFit and all the other things, so I had to build a foundation. But the key point I want to add here is start small. Like if you can't squat 500 pounds today, don't commit to squatting 500 pounds. Start by committing to squat 50 if that's what's healthy for you right now, right? Whatever you're doing, build up to where it becomes natural to be able to do that. So start small in a friendly way so that you succeed in this small one. And then succeed in a small one, and succeed in a small one, and you're like, this is boring. I'm going to step it up just one notch. And it's just a notch. It don't have to be painful. It don't have to be miserable, but just stretches you a little. And then until that becomes kind of boring and easy. And then just a notch. And pretty soon, if you keep improving 1% uh, uh, over a short period of time, that 1% compounds, and pretty soon what can be accomplished is miraculous.
Thank you. And I love how much you're living in that miraculous, knowing you now as many years as I have. And there was so much wisdom in everything you just shared, and a lot of principles that we both learned together.
Yeah.
I want to highlight that one of like commitment and recommitment. That like that commitment is like moving forward. And our theme right now is healthy masculinity or masculine energy. And you are a perfect model of that, of like on it, going hard, going strong, and this beautiful quality you have of talking about like I'm taking care of myself. I'm listening to the inner child. Like I'm rewiring masculine power from a place that's inclusive of all of you and isn't pushing through from the unconscious I should, or ultimately from fear. I'm not going to be good enough. I'll never be good enough. I'll go harder. They're not going to like me. All the stuff of sourcing approval outside of ourselves. You're truly sitting in the seat of approval and fire and direction coming from inside of you, which I hugely appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I there's so many things you just said that were valuable to me, and I'm with you 100% on this sense of like all we got to do is build a little bit of a current that we're in that's positive. And anytime we bite off something that is bigger than what's realistic because we should, we're usually going to leave the current and then not do it and avoid it. And you're so beautifully to like, let's get to going. I'll start walking. And when I start walking, everything changes. My physiology changes. My breath changes. I feel different. And then I start moving more. It's no different with starting to write a book. I don't want to write, like I'm not thinking clearly right now. I had a late night last night, but then I start journaling and flowing, and all of a sudden some idea comes, it comes alive, and next you know, 45 minutes have gone by and there's some quality content that's written. It's so applicable to whatever we have to do. Yeah. And what I'm hearing you describe is like, how do we meet resistance as the healthy masculine?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big one here. Like, and I want to ask that question, but I also want to talk about how you communicate with these men that obviously you're having a lot of contact with, some of the push through, like, and I think all of us want to become more skillful to be able to not separate and isolate ourselves, but to enrich those environments with where we're coming from as the healthy masculine. I'd love to hear how you do that.
Yeah, so it's been an interesting challenge, and there was this phase where I partnered with a guy, and we ran a program called Warrior. And we did 10 events, so we together before we parted ways. And so we did 10 Warrior events. And we took these guys, and day one we brought them through like 2 CrossFit workouts back to back, and then we took them out on the beach and put gloves on them and had them beat the crap out of each other. And we did all this hard stuff, and then we talked business and talked numbers. And the guy that I was partnered with was really good at marketing. And he was very much a chest thumper, and he attracted. He was mainly the marketing guy, and I was the big, deep transformation guy. And he attracted constantly those types of personalities. And at first, I didn't know how to relate with them. I didn't know how to reach them. I was intimidated by them. I judged them and resisted them. Yeah, basically that was my experience. And so over time, I just kept showing up, scared or not. I would breathe and I would show up powerfully, give them everything I had. And pretty soon I realized these guys aren't scary at all. Holy crap. They are seriously like high school kids. Like there's nothing. It's silly for me to fear or resist these men. They're literally just little boys that grew up, they're totally still asleep, and they're like high school kids in a popularity contest still, like they're just living out high school. And so I just started showing up with more and more power and authority, and I got more and more comfortable in my skin. That was one of the greatest up levels of my life for my capacity to be in the room, because a lot of these guys had, made good money. A lot of these guys were quite successful, and they were alpha type, A type, red type personality that had a lot of money, and they were just that kind of personality. And so the question you had was, how am I reaching them? I'm not hanging out that much with them anymore after I parted with that guy, because I more attract guys probably similar to what you got on here based on what I'm feeling, connecting with who's on with us. I'm attracting guys that are more balanced between the two. But I did spend a lot of time, and there's still a bleed out where the men, there was a lot of frustration for me, because with a lot of them, no matter how hard I tried, they wouldn't open up. They weren't available for connection. They didn't desire and value the same level of healing and transformation and empowerment I wanted. They just wanted the next strategy to make more money and get laid more, or whatever their thing was. And that didn't do it for me. And that's really why I left there, is that the partner I had, he was fine with that. And I was like, no, dude, we got to go deeper. I really want to transform people and empower them in the deepest ways possible. Otherwise, I don't feel fulfilled. And he wasn't willing to go there, so we parted ways. Now, there's still a bleed out, or maybe 25% of those men really connected with me. And I was a little overwhelming for them at the time, but after they've integrated and expanded into it, now I find a lot of them coming back to me at this time. And I'm having a lot of success with them now. That being said, one of the things I've discovered actually is there's a medicine man that I partner with that does medicine journeys. And so for that particular personality, what I've found is it's so much easier and more friendly for me to take a red A-type personality, send them to my medicine man, have them get them tripping balls on some good stuff, and we make more progress, and it just cracks them wide open, and they can't keep playing their games, and then I can actually work with them.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm finding is actually my favorite thing with those guys is just say, okay, cool, yeah, I'd be glad to help you. Let's take you over here first.
Wow.
And then they're actually enjoyable to work with.
This is good. I'm surprised by this. I didn't know this side of you, that you've been playing around with the medicine world. And so it's surprising to me, and also exciting to hear you come from this place with that realm. And I can see the value in that too, from experience. Yeah. And what you're also saying, I think most of us men, I think, would relate with, is it's not easy to penetrate and make contact with many men on the planet right now.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. Doesn't mean good or bad or wrong. And so there's sometimes we're going to really need to have a high level sensory system to make bids for connection, reach out, attempt to penetrate, meet, share something, take it deeper, be in a leadership, and know when to go, okay, we're not getting in, and I don't have any responsibility to try harder here. And if I relax around that, it's possible too that they'll be magnetized to me and trust something deep in me if I'm not judging, making wrong, or even pulling away, but I'm just like, okay, there's nothing there. Cool. And I think you're describing that somewhat. You didn't push hard or try to get these guys, but then you walked away, and there was enough contact that was made that something seeded, and some of them are drawn to you, which is an incredible description. And I think we all can get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Good. I want to offer, if any of you men want to ask Christopher John any questions, or check in, or share any feedback, or enrich the conversation with your voices if you want. Yeah, Brian.
The thing that has also been working for me recently is the little victories thing you're talking about. Like, I was definitely starting to get overweight, and it was just hard to like find the motivation. I was making excuse not to go to the gym, and I was like, I'm just gonna start doing like 10 push-ups whenever I can, and started doing that. And I was like, okay, I need to have some kind of like tracking system. So I started writing it like on a whiteboard, and I would like have the dates, and every time I could see like over the last week, like when did I do it, when did I not do it, and I started like tracking my weight after that, and I started doing like pull-ups after that, and like so I just like kind of like built off of that. But I'm kind of at that need to burn the ships point now. So that was what resonated with me the most, is like, it is all about just actually committing and feeling like ready to do that.
What would that be for you? If you were burning the ships, Brian, what would it be?
I know like who I want to be as a person, and like you're saying it, Shem's, about being above the line all the time, like like just holding that integrity with everything I do, and like I have goals for my work. I'm ending this like full-time job at a like corporation doing photography and getting hopefully back into freelance, and I need to just commit to doing that because I know I can, but I've just been scared. So like it's just use whatever little savings I have and just do it.
So if I could add to that, Brian, what I would suggest in a scenario like yours, if you want to really take on your life and step into doing what you love and thriving at it and embodying your divine masculine in a way that gives you the ability to create all of that, I would first associate in my mind that I'm done working for the man. I'm done working 9 to 5. I'm done doing whatever this is. I do choose to do what I love and thrive more than ever. I realize that I get to access this part of me that has the follow through and the commitment and all of that in order to have that. Because the results there for all of us. The results are available for all of us. It's only a matter of, am I aligned with the principles or the natural governing laws that allow that result to take place? And so the only reason why you don't already make money, doing plenty of money doing what you love, is you're not aligned with the principles that would allow that, right? And one of those principles is likely, to believe in yourself, to know that you're not going to starve to death if you take the leap, that that you will follow through and you can count on yourself, and whatever all the different layers are. And so what I would do is I would commit to something big, but not too big, but big. Like I would say, okay, guys, I'm going to do an amateur bodybuilding competition. And I picked the date, and it's 6 months out, and this is the exact show and the date and the time. And I paid my $100 registration fee, and I'm telling you, everybody in Facebook world and everyone that I care about, this is what I'm up to, and hold me to it, right? And then I go to work, and every day there's something bigger that's like, no, the clock's ticking. Now it's not that you want to get on stage and show how sexy you are for the sake of being cooler than someone else. It's that you're done fucking around and you're using whatever thing you choose to do. And I don't need to be a bodybuilding thing. That's an example. You're using whatever that thing is as one milepost that's going to help you become that person that's required to have that result that's desired. And you have the ability to burn the ships, because like what you told Shems was so vague. It'd be like, yeah, just going to do some affirmations and just hold the intention that I get her done and we get this done now. Well, if you say, I'm doing this on this date at this time and here's my registration fee, they're no more, like, it's not vague. It's very fucking clear what you're committing to, and you can actually burn the ships with that.
Yeah, that is exactly what I need to do, because just making a schedule and like having visual representations, like that's one of the ways I'm falling through or failing in this whole class. Is I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing every day, but I haven't written it out on my whiteboard. I'm not like on top of like doing my breathing exercises every day, and like I need to fucking do it.
Yeah.
Accountability is huge.
Yeah.
I think Chris is pointing to that really clearly. If we were to tell everybody on Facebook that I'm committed to this and I want everybody who to check in with me if I'm doing it or not, and now get a lot of feedback from the world around that. And accountability can be our best friend in this world, especially when our commitment's something that really serves us.
Yeah.
Like if I'm really committed to something and then I'm telling you guys I'm committed to it and I have accountability with you, there's some power in that. That's one reason as a community that we have a lot of value in this, that when we're here and we're being seen, we're making commitments to each other and that we want to be doing, and we're having each other check in about that. Like we have a little bit more juice. And Chris has some really good feedback for you, Brian. It was awesome. I didn't want to go into it too much because I was like, we don't have a lot of time, but he went right there with such a really good laser thing. I'm like, what is the specific thing? Okay, you have a photo show that's happening next month. And we need to see all of your best work shown in whatever way we need to see it, but we need you to commit it to that. No matter how many job hours you have and all that, you want to show this incredible artwork that's going to give you a portfolio, something to see that, but we all see and other people in your life see, care about, and you show it and you stand proud of it. That would be something I think would be very applicable to you that would really measure with what Chris just said. Are you on for that?
Yeah, I have an idea that I've been putting off doing, but I'm going to do it, and I'll make a post about it. And
yes, post your commitment to us so we can give you feedback and hold you to it. And it's something before the men's passage is over, so all of us are holding it with you and allying with you on it. Okay,
Perfect.
Great,
Perfect.
Anybody else want to ask Christopher anything? Danny, you go first.
First off, thank you so much for sharing, Christopher. This was an epic night. My first question is a quick one. When is your 7-day retreat happening? Are you doing that in the future?
Yeah, the next one's next April.
Cool. Where can I find the info?
Conversation. If you private message me on Facebook, I don't have any.
I'll give you guys links to Christopher, and that way you can follow up.
Perfect.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, so in terms of what Brian was saying, I think that it's really key. The accountability is so key. But what I found beneficial is treating myself with compassion. And I love what you said, all right, I didn't do it today. I'm aware of what happened today. I accept what happened today. I'm going to commit to tomorrow and moving forward like that, because I grew up on such a beat myself up, thinking that that's the only way to grow. I love the burning of the ships. It's really funny. I hadn't been on Facebook much, which has been awesome for me because that was something that was draining my energy and distracting me. But I got on and saw the Zoom link, and I commented stoked like 4 hours ago. Then I had a beautiful night with my girlfriend. We went out, had a spontaneous dinner together, and we were just like all cozying up. And I'm like, maybe we should just go to bed, and I'm not going to do the men's passage. But I'm like, you know what? I did stoked and there were just these reasons to show up, and I'm so glad that I did. And I'm finding that the men's passage and the things that we're working on, just really quick, when I was like 18, 19, I felt very masculine, very energetic in that. And then I was my own medicine man, and I blew to the other way, which I'm so much happier, but I'm just learning how to harness this energy and get that grit back in a compassionate way. It's really funny. So this is leading to a question, but it's funny how I see you interact with your daughter is almost how you interact with yourself as, like, hey, I see you, I see your needs. I'm going to be clear about my requests, but treat you with love and respect. And I think it's an interesting thing. So, how to get in touch with your body more is my question. You had said fasting, meditation, but really cultivating this relationship with yourself where you can listen to your hip, where you can listen to what do I want to do, get more clear with yourself on your goals and, really your true heart's desires.
Yeah, so getting connected with your goals, your true aligned goals and true heart desires is in order to do that accurately, it's required that we build a relationship with our body. And so to answer your question, how do we get in a better relationship with our body? For me, it's all about taking the time to stop and tune into my body. So we could all have an experience of that right now real quick. So if everyone will close your eyes, breathe, and scan your body from head to toe, and see what all sensations you can notice. For me, there's a little tension in my neck in a couple places. There's some heat coming off my face. There's my hands feel a little bit, the joints are a little sore. My feet, I can feel pain in my feet. Now I'm telling you all the more intense sensations. When I first started scanning my body, that's all I could identify was the intense sensations. And later on, I started to realize that it was important that I got more and more in tune with the most subtle of sensations. And if we get honest, I mean, if you look at it, every cell in your body is vibrating energy. And there's over 30 trillion cells in our body. And so every single cell is vibrating. So the level of awareness, if we take the time to breathe and not just think, rather than thinking, if we just scanned our body and said, what's happening in my body? And we didn't think about stories. We didn't think about any of the thoughts. It was more just, I'm going to scan my body. Now, the good news about this is, in order for me to be in the, you know, we've all heard, I imagine, about the value and importance of being in the present moment. Well, when we scan our body, we have to be in the present moment with our feet on the ground as a human being in order to be aware of what's happening in our body. And so if you just make a regular habit to stop, to shut everything else out for a minute, to breathe and scan your body and see what all sensations can I notice. And at first, it might be easy to notice those intense sensations. Now, let's talk about the subtle ones. I also feel vibrating all over my body. I feel a swirling, uprising vibration in my pelvic area that I know is related to feeling excited and grateful for the connection we're sharing and doing what I love here. You know, here I am at the end of a 14-hour physical strenuous day, and I'm lit up because I love this. I love our connection. I love sharing and doing this. Right? So that ties to that. I feel pulsating outward waves of energy going from my solar plexus. Right? And this is weird shit to me back in the day. Like, people talk about energy centers and all this stuff. I couldn't feel any of it. Completely disconnected. And nowadays, I feel all kinds of energy patterns and swirls and vibrations and waves and you know, so after years and years and years of practice, and basically it's just a regular practice, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to scan my body and see what all sensations, both intense and subtle, can I become aware of. So if you do that consistently, one of the most important processes or practices ever to begin to build that relationship with the rest of your being, to begin to access your true, authentic yeses, and making choices from that place that are aligned rather than just the shoulds and the conditioned beliefs and all the different things. So, great question. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. That was awesome. And so aligned with tracking, right, guys? Tracking. And the other thing I'll highlight with that is Christopher started with, like, I noticed these sensations, maybe some with the discomfort first. They're like the stronger alarm system. Like, I'm a little tight in my neck. I'm kind of hot. My joints hurt. But then you listen more, these deeper layers of like, oh, I'm also feeling all this vibration and pleasure and aliveness. And we keep listening. Our radar starts to notice what feels good and isn't distracted with what doesn't feel good so much. And as we listen to that more, we get more and more informed on what feeds goodness, what feeds pleasure, what feeds aliveness, what feeds the true underpin of being alive in our body. So it is such a beautiful description, Christopher. Thank you for that journey. And that was really practical. I know all of us could feel a lot of value in that right there.
Thank you.
Good. I want to give some space for Levan to share a question too.
Thanks, James. And thanks, Christopher, for being here with us and sharing your own experience and inspiration. You know, I felt so lit up just hearing you. I was laughing and crying inside. It was just beautiful. Yeah, my question is along the same lines of Brian's, but maybe framed from a different outlook. And I'd like to ask more about, you know, I don't know if in every instance, in every application of how we want to make progress in our lives, it's possible to burn the ships, you know. Like, for instance, I had a great conversation with Adam last week and an earlier conversation with Shems about, you know, how can we motivate ourselves to take those few minutes out of our lives every day to stay on the path that we know we need to be on. For instance, yesterday, I was working on this investment package for trying to sell my restaurant. And it's been something that has been a real struggle for me to get to. Because I actually spent a month and a half doing a package that I was eventually told by, friends in the industry that nobody wants to see. And so I had to let go of all that heartache before I could get back to it. And I finally did yesterday, and I found myself so immersed in it and so drawn into it that I wasn't able to pull back and take the time that I needed to do my breathing practices, to take a break, to even, get up from it, and I found myself, when I needed to rest a little bit from it, I found myself pulled into old habits of just, I'm going to look at this article online and that article online just to have a short break, just to sort of, recoup mentally. But I wasn't doing it with my body, and I feel like maybe a lot of us here have these everyday challenges. How do we remind ourselves that, hey, we can break out of these old patterns, these old habits, and instead, use these new tools, use these new techniques that we have, but we have to remember that. And is there any advice that you have about how to sort of supercharge that memory so that we are acting on it in a more consistent way?
Yeah. So a few things come to mind. Great question. Thank you. One is, I would start with why. Why, like, take an inventory. If I don't start doing this, or, keep doing this, what does it cost me? Right? So face the cost of the choice of not honoring yourself, not taking care of yourself, not doing your breathing practices, not following through with your commitments, right? It may seem like, it's just this coaching thing I've already paid, like it's cool and I love it, but yeah, I don't feel like breathing right now. But if you're doing it there, you're doing it somewhere else, right? And so if you start with why, and you really take inventory and say, and here's the reality of the situation. If I miss a day, probably not gonna be a big deal. But when I stop my daily practices and rituals, I don't breathe, I don't meditate, I don't take time for myself, I don't connect with nature, I don't gain clarity on my intentions, or whatever my day, if I don't work out and I don't eat healthy, or whatever the things that you choose to do or that you guys are practicing, am I in power? Am I clear? Do I tend to get depressed? Do I tend to lose energy? Do I tend to lose focus? Do I tend to get distracted? Right? So if you could look at your why and say, you know what, I'm done with the half-assed life, or I'm done with these struggles in these areas. I know that I can have everything that I want, and I know that it's up to me, and that I'm the foundation of all of that, and that my self-love requires me to allow myself to have more, to be more, to experience more. I love myself too much to continue to stay stuck in the same old bullshit games and patterns, right? So the first thing I would say is increase your self-love in every opportunity you get. Practice ways of increasing your self-love. Second, start with why. Get really clear on, why do I choose to do these practices? Because there's going to be times you're tired. There's going to be times that you don't feel like it. There's going to be times you're busy or whatever. And if you don't have a solid why, then it won't be big enough to get you there. The voices will win. So have that solid why and connect it, right? So if you think about it, if I don't meditate, I could go like, okay, I would love to be with my wife. If you take back when we separated, I would love to be together, be happy, raise our family together, and make plenty of money doing what I love. That's a pretty big why, right? I don't give a shit if I'm tired and sore anymore, because that's way more valuable to me than my excuses about being tired and sore, right? So start with why and take inventory about, if I don't change the way I'm showing up, then I'm going to keep getting what I've always got. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. So knowing that, you say, well, no, I'm done with that. I want this. And I know I get to show up differently to create that. In order to do that, every day I'm choosing to get in a place of power and clarity and inspiration so that I can act from that place and stop repeating the same shit from the past. So that I can get those new results, so that I can have that life, so that I can truly love my life and feel fulfilled and aligned and fucking awesome, right? So connect with that why, and then you commit. And then the next thing you know is, oh, every time I commit and I don't follow through, that's like lying a little bit. And then you got to lie a little bit more, right? If I don't follow through, then I just show myself it's okay to not trust yourself. It's okay to say you will and then not. And then I just keep doing it, right? So every little commitment that's broken is an integrity gap that leads to, when you pile all those up, then it leads to a messy life, right? So you say, no, I'm done living that way. It's not like, it's just a little commitment to breathe. But it's a big deal because everywhere that you're committing to the things that you really care about, if you want to be a creator and you want to take responsibility for your life and you want to create the life that you love, you've got to have, that's made up of every little commitment that you follow through on or don't follow through on that determines those results. And there was one other piece, if I can recall it. So you love yourself, you gain clarity and commit to it, you find your why, you keep your integrity, and can you guys remind me of the first question, what the question was in the beginning? How do you stick with it when you don't feel like it? Is that basically it?
Or the old patterns and habits take grip, I think is kind of what Levin said too. Like, I went towards reading an article instead of taking a walk outside and breathing and getting out of my head, something like that.
So again, the self-love is going to be key because if I now beat myself up for falling off course, then I've undermined my self-love even more, and then I won't want to do it even more. Oh, and this is the other piece I wanted to share is it's always easier to go from bad to good than it is to go from good to great. When your back's against the wall, when I'm like, oh, I got to feed my family or we're going to die, boom, I get shit done. And then I'm like, oh, we're selling pretty good. I think I can just chill here. And now I have stuff to lose. Here I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Now I have everything to lose and I'm good how I am. And so going from good to great is a whole other ballgame. And so if you want to go from good to great, that's where the self-love comes in. It's like, I love myself too much to settle. I commit to having my optimal life and creating my optimal life. And as a person who fully loves myself and commits and chooses to fully love myself, then I align in such a way to be with impeccable integrity and to be committed to creating the life of my dreams because, hey, if I'm going to be alive, why not fucking make it awesome? And if it's up to me, why not commit and start winning and keep winning and build momentum and create what I'm here to create?
Yeah. Powerfully said.
Awesome.
I so appreciate the like charge and fire and energy in what you're saying. And it all feels really tangible. And as you speak, I know that you're living what you speak, that you're doing it. And I really appreciate that. And it's palpable to me. I don't know if you guys all feel that kind of too. Like, I really feel how much you speak and share from experience and knowing that you've gone through some big rites of passage and changes and just knowing a little bit of your history, bro. Like, this man's come a long way, and it's awesome that you're right here in front of us, giving this gift and sharing this inspiration and being this potent, healthy man that I love. I love that you're a redneck, like, powerhouse guy from Utah with a Mormon history background family-wise, and you have such a huge heart, and you're on your mission, and you're making a difference, and you're just such an incredible model of the balance of a healthy man. And thank you for being that.
Shems, to add to that, when I hear Christopher share, I feel what I will be like when I am fully there.
Mm.
Honestly, Levin, I think you're fully there already, and there's no will be like that. And I think every man here can probably say that too, and it's really clear. After having talked to you earlier today, like, you have such a presence and potency to your being and calmness and depth. There's no will be. You're on your path, right? You're doing what you do, and sometimes you stumble like we all do, but for the most part, how you show up and how you're seen by me, and I imagine the other men, is that you're here. You know, you could be teaching this right next to me, brother, and I would have zero doubt in you. Okay? I think other than that, you guys feel that? Like, I'm not just talking your story up. I feel that's true. And Christopher just met you, and I imagine you could sense some of that in your presence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to give some time for us to check in. And is there anybody else that has last things they want to share with Christopher or ask or appreciate?
Can I dovetail to Levin's comment in your response? Because I thought it was beautiful. Because what I was thinking of is, like, Christopher, I'd love to know what you think about when things don't look like, success doesn't look like what you want. You know, because I love the drive that you propose in existence and how you live it, and I deeply feel that need in my existence. But I think something that I'm balancing is like a dad and all these things is that process of just trying to be in flow with it, you know, where does grit get in the way, and how have you handled that, you know?
Great question. So,
and I also have to tack on, brother, I grew up in Kentucky, and it's so good to hear somebody talking this way, like with a little bit of twang. It makes my heart just like so happy. So happy.
Awesome. Thank you. So I think surrender is so key, because this has been a learning edge for me, where, like, as the healer me, it's like, oh, it doesn't feel expansive. So yeah, I just think I'm not meant to do it, right? And then the warrior me is like, fuck it, I don't care, we're getting this shit done, I don't give a shit, right? And so how do we balance in there and know when to be what? How do we have both of those at the same time, right? How can I be the most gentle, feminine, flowing, intuitive, connected, receiving, and at the same time, integrous, aligned, boom, right? So the more we can move, to me, we're all creators. We were created by a creative source. No matter what our beliefs are about life or afterlife or whatever, we were created or we wouldn't exist. Like begets like. Therefore, we are creators. We can observe all of those principles in nature. So I'm a creator. So if one of my objectives is to be my full potential as a creator. And one of the things I've come to think about, they talked about in past life experience stories and whatever, that, you know, sometimes we're a man, sometimes we're a woman, and then pretty soon we become androgynous. Now, all that's arguable, and I'm not saying it's true, but if it's true, as I considered the possibility of that, I was like, maybe we would do masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, until we mastered the ability to manifest from both places. One from a place of being and receiving, and one from a place of committing and creating, right? And can we do both of that at the same time? I feel like that's the most powerful place. If I can be in a state of meditation, a state of peace, a state of ease, and master the ability to continuously return to my breath and my presence and my honoring of me, organizing myself in such a way to get inspired so that whatever I'm committing to isn't just some harebrained idea, it's an actual inspiration. And then following through on that, right? So, you know, I feel that all those are really important, and it feels like there's one other piece that wants to be addressed on this or shared. Can you remind me of the original
Results
question?
not showing up the way you think or want them to.
Okay.
Your creative energy not unfolding the way you want it to look is somewhat, I think, what Adam said.
Yes, thank you. So often what I would do is, if it didn't look the way I wanted it to, then I would keep plowing and just charge it at all ends, no matter what, to accomplish against the universe. And it would be very hard, then I'd be very tired, and then I would shake my fist to the sky and say a few F words. right? Or the other one was totally surrender and be like, well, I guess it's not meant to be. And so the balance between that for me is, like I was saying, like, first, be very inspired in the first place, organize myself in such a way to, as often as possible, and ideally only take inspired action, if at all possible. Secondly, reassess over and over. Am I still on course? Like, that openness to learning is the biggest key on the journey is, am I on course? Is this my voice is trying to hold me back? Or is this just resistance? And learning that relationship with self, to be able to notice the difference between the sensations in your body. This is, again, why it's so important to be in right relationship with the body, is my body will contract around what's not aligned, and it will expand around what is. Now, sometimes it's like, yes, I have a yes to being fit and doing whatever. I have a no to running right now. Do I have an expansive around walking? Yes. Okay, we're going to walk, right? So I tone it down for a minute to make it more friendly until that friendly expands as a result of me taking that time to be in right relationship with myself and be unattached. It's key that I reassess over and over. This is the outcome I want. It's not happening. Do I get to release this outcome, or do I get to realign in a new way? What's happening here? So I open up to receive the inspiration, not only about where to go, but about what's actually happening. And what I think the openness to learning is the biggest key here. Like, because the journey, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I have cars and money and even relationships. I mean, relationships are key, but at the end of the day, it's all just an expansive journey and dance and experience to see how much joy and love I can expand into and how much I can align with my full expression. So even when I'm setting all these goals to be an Ironman or build a business or accomplish whatever the hell, all that is some target on the horizon that's sending me on a dance, that's expanding me into the greatest version of who I am. And so the more we can let go of, I'll be happy when, and instead, whatever I think I want to feel when that happens, I'm going to choose to align myself in such a way to feel and be that now. That's going to help me experience it more quickly and easily, and I'm going to already be there regardless. I'm going to let go of the attachments, but I'm still going to be clear on what I want, because the other thing I used to do is when I let go of attachment, I let go of desire. And if we see ourselves as if you think, I'm going to use the word God, and my concept of God is so I don't know that, and everything that, but I'm going to call it God for a minute. If God was the ocean and I'm the wave, I'm just an extension of God, right? So whatever's welling up within me, whatever desires I'm having, I believe is an expression that the universe is wanting to experience through me. So if I'm wanting it, the universe is wanting it, is the way I look at it. And so I just head there and stay open to the feedback on the way and keep looping in with myself and the whole experience so that I can receive the feedback and adjust course accordingly.
Thank you, brother. That was really beautiful.
That's incredible. I'm my heart.
James, do we have a minute for one more question to follow on to that?
Yancey, jump in, buddy. Yancey's in Puerto Rico, by the way. I don't know where people are, but Yancey's in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's dark here, so you wouldn't be able to see me anyway. We don't have electricity. Just on that last piece, Chris, around attachment and desire, I've done a bit of work with Katie as well, and she was really good at calling me out at one point a couple of years ago around my unconscious commitment to struggle and working harder, because I also come from a redneck family of loggers in Southern Oregon, and that are really good at struggling and working hard.
Yeah.
And coming back to that notion of attachment and desire, I feel like I'm going through a threshold right now of I've been definitely shedding attachments and desire, and a few personal things that I have left have kind of gone through a couple of hurricanes in the last 2 months. And so continuing to unravel that idea of attachment and desire. And yet it seems like there's like a contradiction that I'm not totally clear on, which is, if we're our own creators and we're creating our own realities, like how much of that creation is coupled with attachment and desire, and how have you decoupled that, unhealthy attachment versus just being a creator without desire or attachment?
Beautiful. Great question. Thank you. So I've bounced back and forth on this, and I've swung the pendulum multiple times where I'm just, no, I'm creating this, I don't care, to, all right, what do you want? I guess you can't see me right now, so I'm doing this. I'm extending my arms out. I'm looking at the sky, and I'm like, okay, what do you want, right? And so over time, I've come to experience it as more of a dance between me and the Creator. So the religious view that I was trained in was that there's God, and He determined this, and you're subject, and you're this little loser, and natural man's an enemy to God, and you need to prove your worthiness, and hopefully someday you'll be happy. And in the meantime, you need to work really hard and pay the bills and prove that you're worthy. So that was the old model I came from. Now I'm like, no, I don't need to prove I'm worthy. I'm completely loved as I am. I'm more than enough. I don't need to work hard to prove anything. Blah, blah, blah. All these shits. So, but when it comes to creating and dancing between what you're saying, desire and detachment, I feel like, in my experience, is like desire is my path. That, like, if they say follow your heart, the more I come to understand, if you watched anything from Alan Watts saying, hey, life isn't a journey or a destination, it's a dance, it's a song, right? It's an opportunity to play and connect. So if we start viewing life as the gift instead of the test or the trial, right? Life is the gift. We have this beautiful place, and if we give up the need to struggle, give up the need to prove or strive or stress or strain, and we say, no, life is the gift. How good am I willing to stand having life be? Right? How good can I stand it? How good am I willing to allow my life to be? Well, the only way to know how good it can be is to know my desires and to trust my desires. Now, some people would argue, my old religious friends would argue, well, you desired to drink alcohol. Yep, and it was the perfect experience at the time. Exactly what I needed to get now. Very little alcohol, and it has zero control over me versus back then, almost complete control over me, right? So, the openness to learning is key. Otherwise, we can get stuck in a rut. I could have stayed in alcohol like many of my friends did. They could have kept the grip on me. So, staying in the openness to learning is key. Knowing my desires and trusting in those, and knowing that I'm worthy to have those desires, knowing that the universe wants me to have those desires, knowing that, and even trying on the possibility that I'm just an extension of the universe, that the universe created me as a way for it to experience life as me. So whatever's welling up in me isn't me as the wave saying, I want to be a wave that's 6 feet tall that Shems can surf. Or whoever else surfs, the wave didn't decide to be what the wave is. The ocean welled up as the wave. That came from the ocean.
Came from the wind.
Right? So what if my desires aren't mine? What if my desires are the universe's desires, and I just get to be the one that experiences it in this ego form currently? And that's the dance, is saying, cool, I'm completely okay with all of my desires coming true and that being my reality, my lived reality on a consistent basis, and giving up any need to judge those or whatever. Choose wisely, be committed to win-win, be committed to integrity, etc. Then the only time I really dance with, detachment is if I find myself moving from a state of ease and grace to, all clenched up and trying hard and feeling frustrated and pissed at the universe because I'm not getting my way, then I take a moment and say, okay, what's going on? What am I attached to? What do I get to let go of? A lot of times I notice that the thing that I desire actually avoids me like a dangling carrot if I'm attached to having it. But I swung the pendulum of, if I'm attached to it, that means I need to stop wanting it. Well, if you stop wanting it, now you're trying to not be human. Now, like a lot of us spend so much time trying to go back to the ethers or go back to oneness or whatever. Well, we came down here as a gift to get away from that stuff for a bit and just be human and have a good time. So, or at least that's a possibility that I'm trying on. And so my encouragement to you would be follow your desires and let that be. When they say follow your heart, when they say frequencies are everything, when they say all these things, ultimately following your desires is key to following your path, because there's a frequency that you are and that your desires are that are aligned, that would be like surfing the wave of your purpose or your expression in life. So following those desires is key. And then the only time I really worry, or I don't, worry is not the best word. The only time I really place focus or attention on what I'm attached to is when I find myself not in a state of ease and grace. Rather than sitting and thinking, I need to let go of all my attachments. Whatever you focus on expands. So why would I focus on letting go of attachments? Why don't I focus on creating my desires and then address the attachment when it starts to take me out of the state that I would like to be experiencing?
Brilliant. That's awesome, Chris. That helps a ton.
Good.
Thank you. I'm definitely gonna try that on and just ease up on where I've been with the feelings of desire and attachment. That's a really simple way of finding better alignment. I like that a lot. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Yancey. Well, time-wise, Christopher, I'm going to let you go and have a little bit of a check-in with the men here because we have been apart for a bit. I hugely appreciate you and all the gifts you just brought us, and I love you even more just hearing you and feeling you this way. Thank you.
It's an honor. Thank you all. Thank you, Shems, for having me, and thank you, everybody, for meeting me here in such a beautiful way. It's one of the greatest joys for me to, we spoke about these A types that are so hard to connect with. So being met by other men in this way, my dad didn't know how to meet me this way. So many other men didn't know how to meet me this way. So anytime I feel this level of connection with other men, it's very dear to me. So thank you to every single one of you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Last comments?
Thank you.
Much gratitude, Chris. Thank you.
Okay, brother. Have a beautiful night. I'll follow up with you soon.
Great. Blessings. Thank you.
Blessings. Awesome man, huh, guys? It's a really awesome brother.
That was great.
A lot of rich things to us here. Yeah. So I want to keep this brief and short, but I wanted to one of the things that stood out to me with everything that Christopher was sharing was like, how are we cultivating those positive feeling states? Because one thing with his beautiful meditation, he guided us through just listening and sensing and kind of tracking the body somewhat, was how can we keep finding what is working, what is right, what feels good in us? And so I wanted to hear a little feedback from you guys. If anybody wants to do a check-in of like things happening in your life, give us a heads up, that's cool too, but let's just keep it sweet. But also like, how is it going for you guys? Are you guys feeling the positive feeling states? What's happening? Is that practice? Can you feel what that does? And how are anything else going? And if anybody wants to share anything you're specifically struggling with, let's bring that in. So each person, let's take 2 minutes or so just to have a brief check-in. Yancey, you want to start, brother, while you're on the phone there?
Sure thing. I had a great moment. Well, I've had several, but positive feeling states. While there's so much that has been unraveling and things are significantly improving day by day, what I'm noticing is the power of nature. Obviously, I'm deeply connected to nature, but I can stand any night and just hear the abundance of coqui frogs. I can see fireflies flying by. I can hear little crickets, and who knows what else is out there. And just feeling how alive everything is, just being able to see the moon right now shining really bright, and that aliveness inspires my aliveness. And so I feel like this last couple of weeks has been quite powerful, but specifically this last week, I've gotten more into my body, deeper into exercising, more deeply connecting to Mother Ocean. And so all those things are something I'm really appreciating about just being present in what's happening.
Awesome. I could picture those fireflies and and hearing the coquis. If you guys know what the coqui frogs are, they make a chorus of sound that's quite amazing. Thank you, Yancey.
Yeah, thank you. This is great tonight. Chris is awesome.
Yeah. Each man I have coming, you guys, is awesome. And it's really cool, the flavor that Christopher brought. And each man, seriously, I feel really awesome about each man, so it's great. Cool. Who would like to share next? Danny.
Well, I just wanted to say, Yancey, I'm really glad that things are picking up. I had been thinking about you over this break, and to hear you in good spirits and to hear things turning around is awesome. While Chris was here, I'm like, where's Tom? Because he was saying little by little. I felt like, with the compounding growth. So I'm like, poke a poke. I was just thinking about that today. I had a really similar experience just with nature. And what Christopher was talking about, just taking little steps, something that I've struggled with for majority of my life is feeling capable and manly around the house, either fixing things up or doing yard work or anything. And I'm tired of just saying, just because I haven't done it and, I'm 28, it's not too late to learn how to use a lawnmower and use things. Even these things that make me feel silly to say I don't know how to use a lawnmower, I don't even have to ask anybody. I can look it up on YouTube. Or if I have to ask somebody, I'd rather just look foolish once and learn how to do it. So I've been doing like a lot of yard work. It's funny that you brought up the positive states feeling, because that exercise I totally forgot about, and I need to go back and start incorporating it more. What I've resonated with the most is leaning forward on my toes and really committing every morning to leaning into life and meeting things with my full presence. So I had like the best freaking week in I don't even know how long, and it's kind of accented with these kind of freak out things where I saw that my dog had fleas. One of my dogs had fleas, so like I have this flea protocol. I knew what was going on, but I was like, all right, this is like a 6-hour event right now. So that happened. And I noticed I just didn't look at my phone, and I was just in the moment, like ready to get things done when they were going to get done, and just do my best and be present. And that was like one of my best days. Then I get water delivered in these 5-gallon jugs, and like I was washing my hands, doing things. I pick up the jug to go flip it over, and it just slips out of my hand. 5 gallons breaks all over my kitchen floor. So I had to, get like dehumidifiers, industrial dehumidifiers, all that things. But again, taking care of that, it was like one of the best days ever. I don't even know how to describe it. So pretty much I was outside today. We were putting up Christmas lights, something that I had never done on my own before. I'm really starting to be like a home. I'm a renter, but I feel like a homeowner, really like making space my own and appreciating that work, because I was such like, I just want to eat candy and watch movies and play video games all the time, like all instant gratification. Now I'm really feeling like that fulfilling rewardment of building something or creating a nice space. So we were playing Christmas music, and these birds were literally like chirping with the Christmas music. And I'm like, listen to that. And I'm with my girlfriend. I'm like, listen to that. Like, these birds are like the song. And we see a hawk fly and like just perch up like right in a tree by us. And we're just like, whoa. And we're just having all these really synchronistic events happen, really feeling super guided and connected with the universe. And I feel like it's just like, hey, Danny, you're leaning into me. I'm going to lean into you. And it just feels super powerful. And I'm just really like so much synchronicity with what Chris was saying, and to connect to you guys. Just really excited to share how much this has already benefited me so much and changed my life.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Just a brief question. Have you heard much from Michael? Have you guys had any contact?
we had contact. Now that I wasn't seeing him, like I had said, something that had been good for me is to not check Facebook so much. I've been bad at getting back to people. But I was just thinking about Michael, and now not seeing him here, I'm definitely going to reach out. It's pretty amazing. He's from like 2 towns away from me, and we had a really good phone call. This was right before our last meet. So right before last Sunday, and I haven't talked to him.
Great.
And so I'm going to check out, but he sounded like he was in a good space, and excited about things.
Great. Thank you. I'll follow up with you more on that too, but awesome. I haven't heard from him, so I wanted to just hear if you had. Thank you.
I'll reach out to him.
Who's up? Jeremy, please.
Brothers, it's so good to be on the screen with you guys. And Yancey, I was thinking about you too, man, and I guess I maybe missed a share in the beginning, but I'm glad to hear if things are turning around and to hear a positive mood in your voice. I've been sending you some good vibes too. And
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, brother. And Danny, I really related to what you said about, like, I've never really had a lot of the handyman skills and doing that kind of work. And it's something I want to get into and embrace more and just like pick that stuff up. I just enjoyed that share. The practices for me, I've been doing a lot every morning. I do the eagle breathing. I've been doing the shaking. I've been doing a lot of the warrior breath, and they're really powerful, and I've really been enjoying it. In the positive states, I've been doing a lot, and things have been feeling really good. I've had an awesome couple of weeks too. I've been calling in. My partner and I are in a really good space. Like, that's been a part of the positive states. Things are really positive with us right now. Work has gone really well. Like, responsiveness from students and classes and everything is like feeling like a swell. And so I've been feeling a lot of good things from that, and then really enjoying that practice, and especially that warrior breath. One of the things that came up for me in the last call that we had, I think it was just Samuel and I, and something I'm exploring and looking into right now, is the idea of the masks and what masks I may be wearing, and this ability or this feeling like I have to be on stage. He made a comment when we were in that talk, when he asked me if I was a Libra or a Pisces, and it was like, you don't have to be on stage, or you can take your fucking mask off or something. Like, there's no showmanship here. Like, just be. And at first I really resisted that, because I didn't identify with having to feel like I needed to be center stage in that way, like wearing a mask or stepping on stage. But I've been thinking about it, and I feel like there's some layer there. There's some layer, and there's something, a comment my partner made about how she feels I'm always trying to do things and offer, and not just be with her and drop into this real space. So it's something that's coming up for me. I'm trying to be aware of my ability to drop in and just be super real and in my own skin with people. It's like I feel this tendency to want to be kind of like a pleaser and agreeable and make people happy and harmonize the group. And so that feels like what the color of that mask is. So it's not like it's a negative thing, but to drop out of that feels like I go into this cold, detached space, and I don't know how to kind of be in the middle. Like, I'm either like, yes, and here for you, or I'm like, yeah, and it's like a step back. And so I'm trying to explore that space in the middle of what it is to be just real and present, not have to feel like I have to polish and shine everything and everyone around me, and not have to feel like I'm detached from it either.
Awesome. Will you keep us informed on how that goes? Because that is an incredibly rich process to be exploring.
Yeah.
I love that you're seeing that and highlighting that and got that, and that you can maybe inform us of how you experience the change in that, of like, either kind of turned off for a little bit, or not all the way in, or just not participating, or I'm all the way in and I'm doing a lot and I'm really there and I'm showing up, and this beautiful middle ground.
Yeah.
I love hearing you describe that. I'd like to hear more of how it unfolds.
Cool.
Thanks for that. That was a great check-in. And one thing I noticed too, Jeremy, is how deep your voice is right now. I feel this like depth in the voice and your energy, and maybe it's because you just taught and all that, but there's something about your masculine presence that's really strong right now.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Leaving, yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy, I really feel you when you just shared what you did. That's been a big part of that's been a huge mask that I've worn my whole life too. And so many, many blessings for you and your continuing journey underneath that mask, and with what you uncover about your true self underneath that. And as for how the practice has been amazing for me. I've been, except for really yesterday, been able to be very consistent with them and able to feel the very deep impacts they've had on my life and all on, this cornucopia of other practices I've been very blessed with, from the meditation practice that I've been keeping for the last year and a half to Pilates instructor who has really morphed into more of a Qigong and almost internal practice instruction as well. And so, all these things have come together so that, as I've been able to be consistent with all of them, I'm able to feel myself responding to what goes on around me, to the people that I engage with from places that I had never been able to access before, so it's been an amazing journey so far through this passage with all of you. So thank you all. And thank you especially, Shems, for bringing us together and guiding us like this.
Thank you. Thanks for that check-in. It was really great to talk to you earlier today, too. It's awesome.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Who's up next? Yeah, Brian, please.
On the same note of the mask, I was sitting in bed today with my ex, my partner, and we were we have a lot to work out, obviously, but I have a mask up on my wall right there, and I was just thinking about the masks that I wear in our relationship and have worn, and how I haven't been truly vulnerable and open and honest, and we definitely had a big breakthrough with that today, and we both have a lot of childhood trauma, and we just fully released all that and broke down together, and so it's been a powerful day.
Awesome. How are you feeling after all that?
Chris's talk was perfect. I feel inspired to the life is a gift, and I don't need to prove myself to myself, and all of that is is good. But it's definitely been we've been kind of going back and forth with the drama of breaking up and still loving each other and all of that. So that's what my last 2 weeks have been.
Yeah, that's big on top of everything with work and stuff. So she was traveling, right? And she's back now. You guys
yeah, she was in India for 2 months almost.
I can feel your emotions a bit too. Can y'all see that too? It's real close to the surface. I appreciate you being able to kind of show us a bit of what's in you. I can see how much is happening for you right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely with work. I've done 44 family portrait sessions in the last month, so I've been swamped. So just pushing all of this down and then having it all explode right before this call is just synchronistic.
Glad
to have this place to come to afterwards.
Yeah. And can you just take 3 breaths, just receiving our care and our presence, and just let that in your body, your heart. All your emotions and feelings and everything is so welcome here. It's great to have you and feel you. Can you let us in a bit? Not so easy, huh?
That's the mask.
Yeah. I was wondering if there's a way you can really let us in, that there's no need for anything to protect or guard. You got these men right here that are neutrally caring about you. No expectation, not wanting something, but willing and present with you. All of us on our own journey of where we struggle and where we shine. Yeah. I appreciate you showing up and just taking a moment with us in this way.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody else want to say anything else, Brian? You may have anything you want to just share from your heart? It's okay if you, Danny.
I think that it's safe to say that I can speak for all of us that we can really relate to where you are. And when those heavy things go on, it's very easy to say, you know, I've did 44 family photos this month. You know, I've done this amount. I think I'm just going to give myself the night off. And I was just saying to my girlfriend's mom today about how strong vulnerability is and how it's crazy that we have all these issues that we can really connect through our pain. And we've all gone through something that you're going through right now. And yet we like to show the mask. We like to show that, like, hey, everything's cool. My lawn is taken care of, you know, like, just worry about the lawn. Don't worry about what's inside the house. Between our family members, my family was so closed off about having real conversations. And as I've learned to be vulnerable in my life, it turns out to be so powerful and not what I thought it was going to be, where my feelings weren't going to be received well, where I was going to look a certain way. So I know how tough it is to be vulnerable, and I really, really am glad that you were vulnerable with us and that we got this opportunity to send you love. I felt extremely, extremely connected to you. I feel extremely connected to all of you men tonight, and it's an honor.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you. Brother Adam.
Yo, it's good to see y'all. I feel like it's been a little too long for me.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel really good. Christopher was super surprising and like super jazz. Like I just felt like he was an improvisational master. You know, it's like totally, man. Like and I felt like him speaking and sharing was just such an interesting archetype of what I think I'm trying to go through in like my own dance, because I think with these practices in particular, you know, having worked with Shems before, I have this resistance. It's like, oh, I know what's going to come up. Like I've got a little bit of that story. And so diving back in these practices has been a little bit more challenging than I expected. During the holidays, I you know, sharing it with my partner, Melissa. It's like, well, I really want to get back into this and get a rhythm. And she's been super supportive, but I can feel it really kind of shifting in slower ways, and his reminder of being gentle really important. Like I'm smoking less, like I haven't been drinking. I've pulled back from a lot of it, like the masturbation and things like that, and it's felt really good. And at the same time, I've just kind of been letting go and just been trying to be present with what I've got on my plate right now in this space. So it's like I haven't been super aggressive, and it's like why I was kind of asking that, you know, question. It's like, how do you find it flow and when things aren't going the way you expected? And I think what's interesting for me is I've really taken these practices a little bit more at heart this time, not with necessarily integrity, but I feel like their intent has set in a different way. And so I've been having these invitations come up for me that I just haven't been expecting, right? You know, like, because everywhere I'm going, I'm trying to bring in a little bit more of this ethos, a little bit more breath. Like one of the big things that you hammered home early on that I just keep coming back to is like the pause at the end of your breath. And just like, that just feels like such a transformational thing for me, because it's like, I feel like I just pull up more, you know, and just general breathing. And so I'm just feeling really alive, and it feels a little frenetic, but I'm okay with it, you know, and things are going pretty smooth. Like, you know, I guess part of my story right now, part of my mask is my life's a little too complicated to share. It's my relationship with Rebecca, my daughter's mother, is like been really good. We've been having some breakthroughs and her feeling supported. You know, it's like, it's still back and forth a little bit, but it's good, you know, like, you know, it's funny, like, you know, her ex-partner's in town and she's telling me, she's like, I don't know how I feel about this. It's like, it's all good. Just give me a call in the morning. You know, it's like, we can chat if you want to. And we've been working really hard on trying to get more clear on how we create support for one another around parenting, because we're in this spot where we're trying to figure out what we want for our daughter in terms of childcare. And, you know, in the Bay Area, there's so much cultural influence. It's like, no, you're not, like, you're too rigid. No, you're too like woo woo or like new agey. And it's like, well, what the fuck? What do we actually want? Like, what, you know, it's like I'm okay if my daughter eats Swedish fish like once a week, like, really, you know, and all that said is like trying to get in alignment about just even those things has felt really good. And I feel like we've gotten in the same place, and it's allowed my relationship with Melissa to feel a little bit more fluid. And it's been really nice. It's been really nice. And Melissa and I are just kind of on fire right now. It feels really good. I just feel really supported by her. And it's been so nice for me to feel home again, you know? And I think that's like really shifted some of my disposition, because for me, I feel like I can do my practices at home. Like when I was living in San Francisco, even though I had enough space, I just didn't fucking like doing them. Like be like, oh, I need to go outside or something. Like I would create some story around not being able to get things done. And it's like, I feel myself kind of like unpacking some of those cages of like how things need to get done. Be like, okay, what can I do right now to progress whatever I want to get done? And that's felt really good. And lastly, I don't want to take up too much time in some ways. I shared a little bit of this, the invitation to help create this like healing community around a little bit of medicine work, but more broadly around creating a community and feeling like people are entrusting me with some of this, like that deep presence that we're trying to cultivate as men in this space. But how do we do this across age and across race and identity and different kinds of wounds that people are working with? It was so much fun to be part of that process for 3 days. And it just really showed me like the level of aliveness that I want, because I could feel myself short-circuiting in the middle of that weekend. And it was really interesting to like share that with the group and be vulnerable, because it was so many of those people I know very well. And it was just it was a very humbling moment, and it was so much fun at the same time. So I'm just kind of sitting in it and just kind of taking it step by step, you know? Yeah. And I think I'll leave it at that right now.
Awesome.
So
That sounds really good to feel you where you are right now. I mean, from my knowing you, you're in a good place, and wow, it feels good.
yeah, thank you for that.
Well
It
done.
feels good. It feels really good.
Yeah. Just with you guys and my own integrity, I feel like we've gone really long tonight. Chris went on a little, which is awesome. And I just want, I'm doing my best to just try to keep some degree of like container. 2 hours is a long time. And so you guys let me know if that's an issue. It's not a big issue for me, but I want to make sure you guys don't have to stay on for the full 2 hours or all that. Like my intention is to have an hour and a half. I just want to let you guys know I'll do my best to keep it at that. But I really wanted us to have a check-in tonight because we'd had this gap. And so I'll do my best to tighten it up a little bit, but that's just, even for the Sunday calls, an hour and a half is my intention. We might go over a little more, but I want you guys to know I'm doing my best to keep a solid container in that way so each of you knows as far as scheduling.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Sunday. Next level of masculine. We're going to do some stuff with anger, some archetypes, and some other surprise kind of exploration that I'm very excited about. So I'll see you guys on Sunday.
Can I ask a setup question for Sunday? I like Thursdays, it seems like we kind of usually sit down. There's no practices. Sunday, should I be in a space where I can stand? I just want to orient because I'm going to have the kiddos over here.
If you can, I try to bring in some experiential stuff. It's optional for you though, if it's difficult in any way. But generally, even for Thursdays, I'd like you guys to be available to be able to stand up and do some movement.
Okay.
So generally, but it's no expectation or you have to be. But that's great check-in.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Nancy.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, James.
Thank you. Take care, my friend. I'll see you guys all Sunday. Have a great night or rest of your day.
Bye-bye.